Signals are used in all motorsports to communicate to the driver and are more or less universal worldwide. Understanding their meaning forms an important part of any driver's knowledge, and you will be tested on the flags in the exam paper. So let's have a look at the flag signals used in karting. Some may be used anywhere on the track, such as a marshal's post, and others, such as a last lap board or a warning flag, only at the finish line. At some circuits, we're now seeing the growing use of specialist light signals to supplement or even replace flags. A stationary blue flag or static light, another competitor is following close behind. Waved flag or flashing light, another competitor is trying to overtake. In karting, the blue flag or light is often only used to warn karts about to be lapped. A stationary yellow flag or static light, danger, slow down sufficiently to ensure that full control of the kart can be retained. No overtaking. A waved yellow flag or flashing yellow light, great danger, no overtaking, slow down considerably and be prepared to suddenly change direction from the projected racing line or take other evasive action, including stopping if necessary. Stationary yellow and red stripe flag or static light, slippery surface ahead. Waved or flashing light, slippery surface imminent. Green flag, usually stationary but can be waved, or a static or flashing light, all clear at the end of a danger area controlled by yellow flags and also shown at all posts during the start of a practice session or the first formation lap of a race. A stationary red flag or light, immediately cease driving at racing speed, proceed slowly without overtaking and with maximum caution to the pits or where indicated. You should raise your arm when you first see the red flag to warn following competitors that you are slowing. A flag or light, black with an orange disc displayed with a number positioned at the start line, a warning of apparent mechanical failure or fire. The driver concerned must call in at the pits for repair. A black and white flag or light split diagonally and displayed with the kart number positioned at the start line, a warning to the driver that his or her driving standard is suspect and that they may be black flagged on further reports. Black flag or light with number positioned at the start line, the driver must stop in the pits within one lap of receiving the signal and report to the clerk of the course. Penalty of exclusion may be enforced. A green flag or light with a yellow chevron, this is unique to karting and is used to signal a full start. Slow down and take up the start formation again. Yellow and black quartered flag, the race leader who will act as a pace kart must slow down to a rolling lap safe speed and all competing karts must line up in order behind with no overtaking. This flag is used if the track is partially obstructed or an accident is being investigated. When the safety period is over, the flags are withdrawn and racing restarts when a waved green flag is shown at the start line. A stationary white flag or static light, a slow-moving kart, service car or other slow-moving vehicle such as an ambulance is on the circuit. If the start lights fail, then the start can be signalled by the use of the national flag, for instance the Union flag, which is swiftly raised for rolling starts or held up and then dropped to signal a standing start. Probably the best known of all flags is the black and white checkered positioned at the start-finish line and used to signal the end of the race. So you've passed your ARCS test, you've got your race licence and joined a kart club. Now it's time for your first race. Before you go, make sure you've signed your new licence and remember to bring your licence upgrading card from the Blue Book, complete with photo and your signature to the meeting for upgrade signatures from the steward. You will need to fit a transponder to your kart which automatically times your race. You can either purchase one of these or sometimes hire one from the club for a modest fee. Race meetings can seem rather daunting on your first visit, but don't panic. The first thing you must do is sign on, taking your club membership card and new licence to hand in for signature, then take your kart and racewear to scrutineering when they can be checked for compliance and safety. Be prepared to put your suit and helmet on to check for a good fit. Next, go along to the scales where the combined weight of yourself and your kart can be checked against the class minimum. The weight may be checked at the end of the race. At every race meeting you must attend a driver's briefing by the clerk of the course before racing commences. The clerk of the course is the official in charge of the meeting. He'll tell you about the race procedures for the day and any special club rules. So who are the other officials at a kart meeting? Well, the final decision on any dispute will come down to the MSA steward. Safety is of paramount importance, and the technical officials are called scrutineers. One of them will be checking to make sure your kart is not too noisy. Extra personal accident insurance is your responsibility, but if you're unfortunate enough to have a crash, a full team of paramedics are on hand with all the latest medical kit and an ambulance. At events held under a permit issued by the MSA, public liability insurance for the organising club and officials is taken care of by the MSA using part of your entry fees. Marshals play a vital part in proceedings. There will be a flag marshal at every post and a paddock marshal to make sure that the carts take up their correct dummy grid positions. With up to 30 carts or more in a race, accurate results are essential, so obviously the results team have an important role to play. Before racing gets underway, you have at least 3 laps of practice. Use this time well to familiarise yourself with the circuit. It's also a good idea to walk the circuit beforehand, paying special attention to the location of the circuit exit lane. There might be a time practice for you to establish your grid position for the first heat, or many clubs operate a system where the first entry received gets pole position for the first heat. As a novice, you'll automatically start at the back of the grid anyway, whilst the other drivers will get the equivalent of a front, middle and back grid position in 3 heats leading up to a final. Points are given for the finishing positions in the heats and used to determine the place on the grid for the final. So even as a novice, potentially you could end up on pole position for the final race of the day. Remember to regularly check the notice board for results and for your grid positions, or it may be in the programme. Listen out carefully for announcements and give yourself plenty of time to get your kart out onto the dummy grid. The grid official will give a signal for the race to get underway. If your kart has a pull start or electric start, you'll be asked to start your engine, or in the case of a kart without a clutch, you will need a pusher to get you going. Once out onto the track, the field must stay in their grid positions for the formation lap. It's the responsibility of the pole sitter to control the speed of the field, and it's your duty to stay in your grid position and follow his pace and not to weave about. As you approach the start line, the lights will be red. Once the starter decides he is satisfied, only then will the lights go out and the race gets underway. But remember, you mustn't overtake until you've crossed the start line. Some circuits have tram lines on the approach to the start, and you must stay within them and not accelerate until after the yellow line. In the case of long circuit gearbox racing, a slow rolling start is used. This is because of high gear ratios making standing starts difficult, and it's safer for the larger grids. However, on short circuits, gearbox karts and sometimes direct drive karts with clutches will usually have a more conventional standing start, controlled by either lights or the national flag. Don't worry if you get left behind by the leaders in your first couple of races. Be calm and remember the track techniques we covered in this video, and above all, enjoy yourself and try not to spin. When the race is over, shown by the checkered flag, do not do an extra lap. Slow down, raise your arm and follow the leaders into Parc Fermé, the name for the area where the karts may be checked. As a novice, the MSA steward will be observing your driving, and if satisfied will sign your upgrade card for collection at the end of the meeting. Between heats there will be time to look at your data logging if you have any, and adjust your kart setup to improve its performance before the final. The more you get to know your kart, the better you can adjust it to the circuit and weather conditions. At meetings with a large entry there may be A and B finals, so it's important to check which one you are in. If you've only made it into the B final, don't despair, all is not lost, because a top 4 finish in the B final and that will put you onto the back of the grid for the A final, and although it will take an exceptional performance, it's not unheard of for people to win from there. There is another class of racing called endurance racing, where races will be anything from 1 hour to 24 hours long. There will be stops in the pits for refuelling and driver changes. Now, as a top finisher, your engine may be required for examination by the scrutineer whilst you collect your licence signature card, head off to face the Whilton press and proudly take the top of the podium to receive your trophy. Don't forget to thank the marshals and officials if you get the chance. In fact, you may like to offer to marshal yourself on occasion. Well, that's the end of this introduction to karting. I hope you've learned a few new things about the sport and are ready to take the next step to getting your race licence. But just before we finish, a few words of wisdom. Don't ever forget why you started racing in the first place. It's because it's a huge amount of fun. Motorsport is a great way to learn life skills, gaining confidence, self-belief and self-discipline. However, by its nature, from time to time, it may result in incidents where you may be denied a race win, perhaps because of another driver's error in judgment, possibly causing you to be pushed off the track. Now, never allow such incidents to cause the red mist to descend and for you to take action in retribution that can cause other drivers to be injured. The correct way to take action is always to speak to the clerk of the course after the race and ask him to investigate anything you're not happy about. You will often find that before you even get back to Parc Fermé, the other driver has already been called up to answer for his driving standards. There is absolutely no place in the sport for drivers, mechanics or dads taking matters into their own hands, either on or off the track after the race. The MSA have procedures in place to make sure as far as possible that everyone has a safe and enjoyable day's racing. One of the reasons you should be racing at MSA events in the first place. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you in the near future. Goodbye.